Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Girl with the Shovel. I am Angela, and today we're going to talk about aloe vera propagation. Now, there are two main methods to aloe vera propagation, and I will say one of them is way better than the others. One, you can do leaf propagation, where you cut a leaf, you dry it out for several days, and then you try to propagate it in usually perlite or like a perlite soil mix. However, leaf propagation from aloe vera does not work very well. It has very low propagation success rates. Success rates go up if you have a part of the stem, but then you're pretty much just cutting and propping your main aloe vera plant instead of just taking a leaf. So because of all of that, leaf propagation, I have tried and it did not do, it didn't take. I've tried several times. So if you have success with that, good job. Let me know in the comments below. And then today we're going to talk about the better way to propagate, which is by separation of pups. So when aloe vera plants get older, then they'll start to naturally produce little baby plants around the base of the parent plant. Okay, so we're gonna say the mother plant, the baby plants, or the pups, okay? And if you aren't seeing that many pups with your plant, first off, I would recommend checking out my repotting video for aloe vera. That will help. Sometimes your older aloe veras just need a little bit more space in their pot and then they'll really start shooting off some pups. But also, sometimes you just gotta wait for the plant to get a bit older. I know younger plants, they just don't produce the pups. So if you have an older plant and it's not producing them, repot it, and then you should see plenty of new little baby plants. So step one is to remove your aloe vera from the pot. So I've got my little tray here. I'm gonna start by taking it out. That was my watering pot tray. Okay, if it's pretty tight in here, which some of the older ones will be, you might have to loosen it. I've got some nice, well-draining soil in here, and I didn't repot it too long ago. So here we go. And now step two is separating the pups from the parent plant. So to do that, I'm going to slowly kind of massage the roots, and you're gonna look at the root system. And the root system, what they do is they have a little root that goes off and then it starts growing the little baby plant. So then you'll have one main root to cut if it's young, or if it's an older one, it will start creating its own little roots. So you want to kind of see if it's still connected to the main plant or not. Okay, so now that most of the soil is gone, I can see I've got one main root mass here. So I'm just gonna kind of gently start prying these off. Now, since I have quite a few leaves here, they probably will have their own little root system here. You see that? So we have some little roots, even this. Now, if you can see, this was the main little root where it started growing off of. And over time, that has separated itself as it started growing its own little roots here. So this is the youngest that I've seen it separated. If this is still attached, you can go ahead and just get your scissors and you can just clip it and then let it dry for a few hours before repotting. But if you wait a little bit, if your plants are a little bit older, more mature, then that little root will have separated already. Okay, so I'm gonna work on separating a few more here. Now you can see again here is where that main root was attached, and you can tell it's come off, and now it's got little roots coming off right there. Okay, so now I have the plant that has all of the pups removed. I can repot this. It was root bound for a while, that's why it's in such kind of a small little group here. But I think I'm going to try to rejuvenate this one and try to put it in to get it to root down here now. So I'll be working on that, but with your mother plants, you can go ahead and repot those back into the same pot. So for step 3 is if some of you have been cutting the little root, or maybe you have a few leaves that weren't doing very well that you had to cut off, now would be the time to let it dry. If you have a bunch of cuts on your plant and then you put it in the soil and then you start watering it, or maybe the soil is moist, that can open it up to root rot or stem rot really quickly. So be very careful. If you're making any cuts, make sure to let them air dry at least for a few hours, usually like up to a day or two. Let it get a really good seal, or a callus they call it, over that cut before you put it into some dirt. Step 4 is to repot your pups. So I've got some pots here. I've got a few different sizes because I knew I had a few different sizes of pups. So I'm gonna use some smaller ones for some of my smaller pups, and a little bit larger. I wouldn't go too big because we don't want to have too much soil for the size of your small little plant. So not very big. I'll show you the size comparison in a minute. So we're going to just put it in, and so you see that kind of is about the right size here. And then we've got a little bit bigger for a few of these that have a little bit larger. So we don't just go based off of the size of the plant, but also the size of the root system. You see this is pretty small, so we're gonna keep it in a smaller pot. But this one here has quite a bit larger of a root system, so this one can go in a little bit bigger of a pot. Okay, I'm not gonna put it way on top here. I'm still gonna sink it down a little bit, but this has enough roots for this kind of a size of pot here. So I'm gonna grab my soil over here. Oh, got a lot, it's heavy. I've got a sand base as well as the perlite and peat moss in here. You can see my recipe. I use the same one as my DIY snake plant soil, so you can check that one out here. But it's a pretty light and well draining mix, which is what you want for aloe veras. So I'm gonna go ahead and start putting some soil in here. And because this doesn't have that many roots, I'm gonna mostly fill it up about 3/4 the way there. Then you put the plant in it, and then you're going to just fill in the soil lightly on top of the plant. So press down lightly, and notice that I'm leaving the leaves exposed, okay? We don't want to put too much soil up against those leaves, or we could risk getting some rot there. So lightly put it up, press it down so it helps it not fall over so much. I also have a video on aloe vera repotting if you wanted to check that out, if you wanted to go a little more in depth about exactly about pot selection and stuff like that. I cover that in my repotting video. So the last step is step 5, and that is to water it and to take care of it. Okay, now my soil is already lightly moist, if you can't tell. So I'm not going to water it because there's moisture in the soil already. But if your soil is dry, then you will want to water it. And once again, that's not if you made cuts on your aloe vera. If you made cuts, then it's still drying, and then you can come do this a day or so later, okay? If you want more information on how to take care of your aloe vera from this point, I also have a video on aloe vera plant care. Be sure to check that one out. And for now, I'm going to pot up the rest of my little pups, and then I'm going to put it in a nice, bright, but not hot sunlight for the next few weeks as they are growing their own little roots. And I'm going to have so many nice little baby aloe veras that will grow and give me so much aloe vera juice. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do with it. But if you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up and subscribe so you don't miss any more plant care tips and tricks. And let me know in the comments below what your favorite part about this was, if you have any more questions. And then be sure to go on over to thegirlwiththeshovel.com, where I have a few little freebies for you if you want to sign up for my email list, where we are growing a wonderful community of beginner houseplant parents, and I share even more tips for you over there. So I'll see you in the next video.